This past weekend, my family and I we have Saturday family movie night. Every Saturday, we watch a movie together in my home theater. And I remembered a movie that I had never seen. It's from recent years. It's called The Walk. Robert Zemeckis directed it about the dude who walked between not Eiffel Tower, World Trade Center back in the 1970s. So this was a fictional retelling, very visual, of this achievement that happened back when they were building the World Trade Centers. I'm aware of it as a historical story, but I didn't know the details. And I'm watching this movie of this dude. His name was uh, Philippe Petit. Oh, yeah, I don't care about otters. Go ahead, throw them on. The Philippe Petit, when he was 18 years old in Paris, France, saw a magazine about them building the World Trade Centers, and he saw these pictures of these skyscrapers going up. And he, at the time, he was learning about walking high wire, and he just in his mind, he's like, I'm going to walk between those two buildings. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but it's going to happen. He was 18 years old. Jump forward 6 years, he's 24 years old. One, his mission was so audacious, it brought on co-conspirators. There's people that wanted to help him, so and people from France, people in America, and they're like, we don't care if this is illegal. We don't care, like, this is dangerous. This is fucking awesome, like what you're trying to do here. I don't even understand it, but it's something beautiful, right? So the movie was about the story, and is very caper-esque. I read about it on Wikipedia afterwards. It turns out almost all of it was very factual. So what really connected me to Philippe's story was he was an artist and his medium was high wire, and he wanted the biggest stage that there was, the World Trade Centers. And he made this thing happen. And for 45 minutes, he walked back and forth on this high wire between the two trade centers in 1974. And um, as an artist, and I was thinking about this idea, how it relates to me as an artist, and it gave me new clarity about my role as a performance artist. And I happen to work in different mediums. And sometimes it's Zoom telling my story. Sometimes it's doing something crazy, like going to Dubai and walking around and telling everyone I will win a Nobel Peace Prize just to show that you can do such a thing. Tim, you're on the call today. Sometimes it's about making a $10 million proposal to someone with complete sincerity and changing their life as well as mine, because, as they say, the first sale is to yourself. And um, so I'm seeing myself less as a helper and more just own being a performance artist, so I'm speaking from that place today. I'm about to create some art. Sarah, I see you rubbing your hands. Yeah. So, okay, before we go any further, I think whoever's here is here. Just put in the chat just to kind of get yourselves into the room. Where in the world are you? So I'm in Toronto, Canada, in my home office, but just add to the room. Just kind of just share where everyone is. Seattle, Phoenix, on a beach. Sounds lovely, Leslie. Madison, North Carolina, Schomberg, Ontario, north of Toronto, so a relative neighbor of mine. Minneapolis, Switzerland, Florida. Yeah, nice. The topic of today's experience, I'm going to call it, is a Rave Legends guide to how to be more human in an AI world. That's my starting place. That's the thing that's going to help me get to the thing. So this topic is not actually the thing, it's the thing that's going to help me get to the thing. Now, what is the thing that I'm trying to get to? we'll see if that's more clear, by the end. But one of the things that's getting me to is it's creating a stage for me, and it's allowing me to tell a story. And it's allowed me to test myself in a new and different way. It's allowed me to go to my edge and feel the Bruce Springsteen energy. It's allowed me to create connection with people. It's allowed me, these are things already it's done. So, so the inspiration, all art comes from inspiration. And I realize I create as an artist and I need to be inspired. And sometimes I can find inspiration and create inspiration. And sometimes I need a little bit of help. So today's topic came from a little bit of inspiration. There's two sources of my inspiration today. One, a community that I am a part of hosted an AI expert, and he came in and he did a big demo of all the technology. And there was a lot of, oh my God, we're all going to get rich. Or, sorry, specifically, we will get rich if you do these things. And oh, by the way, I'm also selling a course on this. So, and I have a program, and you can get rich if you join my program. I'll help you get rich. And it was so focused on the technology. And I remember I felt so flat, and I was just like, man, like what do I wish showed up that day instead, right? Like what do I wish the topic was? Today's more about what I wish it was. And a coach once said to me years ago, Chris, you need a foil. Like and there's something about that, where basically it creates a response in me of what is it that I want to create instead, and in spite of people like this, like and so that's part of my inspiration today. The other inspiration came by a good friend of mine, Frolic 100 member Rita, who sent me a video from the World Economic Forum that just happened a few weeks ago in Davos, and they had their AI experts talking on the stage. And she was like, Chris, like, there's nothing they're saying that I haven't heard from you already talking about. You're doing things that they're not even talking about. So, like, again, she was the same one that invited me to go to Dubai for COP28. So, and I realized, yeah, like I need invitations and I need inspiration. So, part of the journey that I've been on is to not be dismissive of these invitations when they show up, not to come up with reasons about why I'm not an AI expert and these people clearly know more than me. And what do I know? So I had to quiet that voice first. And then I was like, you know what? I do belong there. But why do I belong there? So what is it that I would offer them? And then I came up with this topic. And it's very specific. A rave legend, because again, I'm just owning the weird, right? So basically, a rave legends guide to how to be more human in an AI world, because obviously that's just a conversation that's not happening enough, in my opinion, right? So, and the people that are out there talking about whatever, we're not having enough of this conversation. So that was my inspiration. So I started with the topic. I started with what I'm going to talk about, which I will get to. But then more importantly, why am I qualified to give this talk? Like what makes me qualified? And that was an important piece. So um, when we talk about making the first sale to yourself, I started that process right then and there. Why am I qualified to give this talk? I'm giving it here today, but I could easily be in Davos or wherever. So I am an early adopter of tech my whole life. So when we go back to me being a rave legend, that was the intersection of culture and technology, and I was on the cutting edge of creating group consciousness moments and events and messing around with stuff I did not understand, but it doesn't matter. Like, like I was on the edge, and I ended up writing a book about it here, Requiem for My Rave. One of the reviews for this book I thought came to mind as I'm making this case to myself about why I'm an expert. So one of the reviews said, it's also a good book about technology. Frolic capitalized early on the burgeoning internet and World Wide Web to connect, advertise, and sell to like-minded people. Between vinyl records, e-commerce, FM radio, and online streaming, the author has direct experience bridging several generations of technologies. So I've been doing this a long time. So I'm starting from that place. After my rave career, I went on to the very logical thing of doing comedy hypnosis. So, but what did I learn there? I learned about changing people's realities, like literally completely changing their environments and what's happening to them. After that, I launched a technology business where the product was automated webinars, and the whole the secret to automated webinars is creating simulated human connection. You're fooling people into thinking that you're there giving a presentation, and that's why they're going to give you 45 minutes of their time rather than watching a 1 minute or watching a video on YouTube for 1 minute and then bouncing. So I learned a lot about what it takes to simulate human connection through my time with Stealth Seminar. I also dealt with crippling imposter syndrome. So I embarked on a 7 year journey and counting of healing, self discovery, and self mastery. So basically, the study into what makes me great. So, an exploration of human potential as me as the guinea pig. So, I've tested how to make the impossible inevitable and how to put myself in rooms that I don't belong in and to fight that narrative about why I don't belong there. And again, make the case to myself about why I do. So, I've published 2 books on understanding myself and my story. And then most recently, I've bridged all these disparate parts into like a custom AI that I made, and it's trained on me, my writings, everything I've learned about myself and my gifts to further help me understand myself. And so basically, it's this quest of depth within me that I've been on. I'm now using AI on my own to dig deeper, and I'm just doing that for fun. Now, the thing is, with Stealth Seminar, at first I created a piece of software and I just thought I fooled everybody, fooled the world. Later, I understood that I made something pretty amazing and I deserved everything that I got from it financially. However, I started telling the story that I built something with $450 of off-the-shelf parts and it went on to generate millions of dollars. And I realized that's the diminishing version of my story. It doesn't take into account the true magic of what I created. And it doesn't matter that it's $450 of parts. So I'm actively fighting that story today of how I tell my own story. So when I created this AI, custom AI for myself, it's also the product of 7 years of research and development into myself. I'm bringing all of that with me. I'm thinking of myself now as a university lab where they just work on stuff until they have their big breakthrough. And what is 7 years of R&D worth on an AI front? I'm focusing that attention now into an AI, but that's like a multi-million-dollar investment. So it's not about taking off-the-shelf parts and rigging something together. The true value of what I've been doing and what I've been making um, is priceless. So, and that again is part of my healing and my journey of self-mastery and understanding myself and truly valuing my unique proposition and why I could easily be in Davos if I wanted to. So as I was making this case to myself, I realized I'm actually not an AI expert. I wouldn't want to call myself that, but I am an expert in human potential, and I happen to use AI these days. Another reference point for me is back in my DJ days and rave days, the music, electronic dance music, was derided because it's made on a computer, and people are like, it has no soul, it has no, like classic musicians would, they'd crap on electronic music. It didn't matter to us. Like it was creating feelings within us, and I was creating huge experiences, and it didn't matter that it came from a computer. So I'm taking that as well. It's like, can I use a computer today to create deep feelings and understanding within myself? And it doesn't matter. And then how can I mix everything together, right? So how can I be anabolic, frolic, and still to be the human and the creator of all of this? So what I'm not here to do is talk tech. Most of what I'll be talking today is platform agnostic. So the experts can explain tokens and algorithms, but what's interesting to me is the real work of wrestling with what it means to be human in an AI world. I'm going to speak about technology in a reductive and simple way because that is how I use it. And it's my gift in communicating this to others. I used to be ashamed of this. I used to, because I wasn't a techie, even though I made these tech products, I wouldn't want to get on the phone with customers. They're using fancy language. I'm not talking in fancy tech ways. They're going to realize I don't know what I'm talking about. I know better today. So I know this is my gift. And so, in a room full of, if I was in a room full of tech people, I would no longer be ashamed or feeling less than. And actually, I am the real communicator in that room that can help bridge the gap. And with the way technology is moving so fast, everything's going to be outdated, by next week or next month or whatever. But if I speak in this way, philosophies, deeper meaning, I mean, this will be, forever. Give myself another deep breath. That was part one. First sale was to myself. So that was the process that I went through. Um, I feel like I made a damn good case for what makes me an authority on this topic. So, and the first sale was to myself. And that's the thing. If there's somebody in the room, I know this is like a particular special room, but if I was speaking to an audience where they're rolling their eyes at me and they're like, "Oh my God, this guy's all about the woo" or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm not for them, and I can feel good about that. All right, part two. Some of my distinctions and learnings. So what I've been pursuing is how to be more human and not to be more robotic or have robots do work for me. So I'm going to focus on a very specific pursuit of AI because it's so broad. It's really synonymous with technology, with automation. Like it's just the latest sort of next level kind of thing. So um, there's plenty of resources on how to create robots to do your work and make your life lazy and blah 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 blah. But that's not what I'm here to speak about. So I'm using technology, in this case AI, to unlock more potential in myself. That's really what I'm after. A lot of people want to use AI as a shortcut, and I'm using it as a new piece of technology to let me do something I've never done before, which is how I've used technology my entire life. As I mentioned at the top of the Zoom, AI isn't the thing, it's the thing that gets me to the thing. So some of my notes here that I prepared: deeper understanding of myself, self-mastery, connection with others, and this opportunity right now. So one of my biggest distinctions around using AI as a tech, or sorry, using it as a way to be more human is something I call digestion versus regurgitation. So regurgitation, just to, for people unfamiliar with that word, is you think about the birds, the mama birds that go out there, they find the worm, and they bring the worm home for the babies, and they feed the babies, and they regurgitate the worm, which is undigested, to the babies to nourish the baby. Digestion is when you consume the food and your body digests it, and then it becomes a part of you, and you get the nourishment from it. The mama bird's not getting any nourishment from the worm. So to me, this is a distinction I use actually all the time, like through for any type of learning. Meditations when you quote somebody else, like someone else's quote, and you're passing that quote on. Digestion is if you've really taken that quote into who you are, and it affects how you do things, and you speak to that, not just So that distinction I apply to AI because there's so much cool shit that the AIs do. People are just like, oh my God, look at this. Oh my God, look at this. And they copy and paste, like, look at what it's just said. That is regurgitation, and you are not digesting any of it. So something I actually challenge myself all the time now with is to not copy and paste stuff. I try not to any longer. So I once did. I was once caught up in the, wow, this is cool. Check this. Like, did you see this thing? I no longer do that. So um, if there's something I've learned from communicating with my AI or something, some insight in me or something like that, if I share it with somebody, I try to get into why this is important to me. That's a question I ask myself instead. What was behind me thinking this, whatever it was cool? And I want to explain why that is to you. And that's part of the digestion piece. Um, I have a kid who's in 11th grade. He just finished English. They read Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. That was the novel that they read in English this year. I've never read the book. I'm aware of it as a thing. So my son Connor, for dinner, I was asking him about it. I was like, are you enjoying it? Yes. What do you like? Or can you explain the book to me? Because I've never read it. Connor started to use a metaphor tying it to the Watchmen HBO TV series. There's a character on that show called Dr. Manhattan, and he kind of exists in non-linear time. And Connor started explaining the main character's storytelling device about it existing at different times through this connection to Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen to help me understand it. And I was like, Connor has just demonstrated that he has digested this book. Like he understands this book. So he's not just repeating what it is. And we had a parent teacher conference and I brought this up and the teacher's like, "Oh my God, that is so great. Like I have to make a note of that like for next year when I'm teaching this book to talk about Dr. Manhattan." So that's another. So again, this is beyond technology. These are just best practices, and one of the biggest responses I see from people when they see something cool in AI or it gives them something cool is they say, wow, that word wow. And that to me is always like, as soon as I hear someone say wow, it's like, okay, what's behind that wow? Like, what's making you say wow right now? Okay, yeah, the AI just told you feel seen by this AI, or it just created a blurb of a book for you, or it's done something that's making you say, wow, tell me what's behind the wow. So this is, again, I want to bring it back to the human between us and this conversation you and the other person's having, because that's what's interesting to me. Why is this creating a wow in you? Another distinction I have is be careful of being caught in the AI mirror funhouse. So the AI is not your friend. Um, it's just a mathematical algorithm. The most reductive way I can explain it is it's Google autocomplete on steroids. And we're very familiar with how Google will suggest words for us and stuff like that. So um, now AIs, by their nature, like, want to please us because we want to be pleased. So it's very good at telling us how great we are, or this is a great idea, or whatever. And I think of it as just being in a fun house, and sometimes you're standing in front of a skinny mirror, and it makes you like look better, like you're so, and it's like just like you got to check yourself. Like like is this real? And again, my best practice is to bring the conversation back to another human being. Let's talk about this. Like what is it? Because yeah, it's making me feel really good right now, but it's just a mathematical algorithm just saying stuff. So um and to that point, I try to see past the magic of it. So I try to see it not as a magic box, but again, as a reductive mathematical algorithm working on computational levels we don't understand or can comprehend. but that's all it is. It's one word at a time, predicting something. Like what's the best word right now? As it doesn't even know what it's saying, and um, so the magic is all yours in how you perceive. So those wows that I'm talking about are coming from you. It didn't actually do anything except take a guess at what might be a wow moment for you. I find it really helpful to me to see it that way, like that reductive, like just, and just take away all of its magic, And I feel like we can still, like, if you're a magician and you go to a magic show and you know how they all do the tricks, you can still appreciate the art and the craft that's happening. But obviously, a magic show is much more magical if you don't actually know what's going on. But in this case, because I want to remain in a human and I want to use technology and not be used by technology. That's another distinction of mine. So I want to use it, not be used by it. And the best way I can do that is ground myself into this is not a magic box. It's a mathematical algorithm, and it's just making predictions based on how to best please me or whatever the question that I'm giving it is. Therapist I saw for many years is a Chinese Canadian, and we had some good conversations about how, and I'm going to say English speakers, Westerners, English speakers, native English speakers perceive intelligence with how well other people speak English. And when people speak English with an accent, and there's different kinds of accents, but some accents we tend to think of that person with less intelligence. So, as an Asian person, this is something she's very familiar with. She had to acknowledge her own racism that she's built into her around it. Um, that conversation connected to something with AI for me. Just as a native English speaker can see someone else's, well, not see, it's a misread. Someone's ability to speak English well has no connection to their actual intelligence. AI speak English really well, so we give it far more credit for its intelligence. So it's the complete polar opposite effect. So and I was just so glad to have that realization with it because yeah, it constructs sentences so well, it can speak really well, and then like we think so much more of it. It's important to me um, to keep it real when communicating with other human beings. Some of you have seen me explore this on the Frolic 100. When someone sends me something that I suspect is constructed through ChatGPT, like an email message or something like that, it triggers my spidey sense, and I start wondering how much of this is the real person actually speaking here, and how much of this is ChatGPT. I don't want anyone questioning anything I send. So I'm never going to use it to communicate as a human being with somebody else. I want you to know that I'm whatever it is I have to say, this is me, and it doesn't, and um, not everyone cares, probably. I don't know, but I care, and I know there's people around me that care. So that's what I'm going to focus on. So like I've done things like I had on my email signature now, it specifically says this email was handwritten by me. Simple as that, because I want that to be known. I know there's things popping in the chat, but I kind of get in the zone a little bit and I just focus on the camera here and just want to stay. A lot of people are using AI these days for therapy work, and I'm not against that. However, the real work of therapy is the relationship. So again, it's the connection between two human beings. And AIs can blow us away with insights about ourselves or hurts or where these things are coming from and stuff like that. But in the end, we are human beings and we want to feel connected to other people. So this is why I've been practicing as I use these AIs to keep bringing it back to the humans, bring it back to the humans. So it's to be in conversation with other people about what it is that I'm learning about the AI, about myself. Again, digestion, not regurgitation. So I'm digesting with somebody else, and I'm using it to foster deeper connection with another human being instead of solely just conversing with this mathematical algorithm. Another piece of my well, around this idea of digestion versus um, regurgitation is transformative work. So you cannot take something from the Disney website and put on your website, you'll get in trouble. Like it's copyrighted. However, if you go to Disney World and take a picture of Cinderella's castle with you in front of it, you own the copyright of that photograph. It's called a transformative work. So that kind of inspired me about sort of best uses with AI. So instead of just copying and pasting something, how can I transform this into something else? And then this doesn't just work for, it's going to turn my self view on here. So my wife was experimenting with art on AIs. And at first, my wife Robin uses they, them pronouns. At first, they were copying and pasting. Oh, look at this thing I made. Look at this thing I made. But then Robin's artist friends were like starting to get very critical about one, they're feeling very like there's all kinds of, that's a whole other topic. Um, so Robin stopped pasting just, like images. However, Robin is an artist, and I'm going to give an example of what transformation might look like for artists. Um, Here's a picture. Robin asked for a cactus. My ink ran out, but a cactus that's smiling and happy, and it wants to give you a hug, and it's prickly. And um, so this is from the AI. But Robin loves working with embroidery and making patches, and started with this image, but then created a patch with that image of the cactus. Although again, Robin had to work it, make sure that the outlines were thicker so the embroidery could be seen. Um, and then made a patch. The patch says "Punch Nazis, not yourself." So and Robin loves making patches. Robin's involved in queer leather culture, with the vests and like the patches. And Robin gets lit up talking about patches. So Robin started with like this AI image, but then transformed it into something that means something to Robin and is representative of Robin's art. So when Robin shows this online, Robin's artist friends celebrate it. They're not threatened about this because this has been through a transformative process. That's another example of using AI. So I was actually glad that I had that example of how we can, well, what transformation might look like, in other mediums. I enjoy sharing with others, like what I'm up to. Well, the digestion piece. And it's a joy to share with others. It's a joy to have um, other human beings where you're like, oh, like this is something I made, or like in Robin's case, and for me, maybe like a deep insight into myself that I've digested, and I get to share that. It's a joy. It's a joy, and it's a joy right now to be able to share this space. A best practice of mine is to keep this one's technical. I'll see. Something I've noticed with generative AI, large language models specifically, is it produces a crap ton of stuff. Like you're just getting, like pages and pages and pages and pages and pages versus my journal where I might write like 5 lines, but then if I'm working with the AI, it's giving me all kinds of ideas and this and this and this and this and this. I have decided to keep uh, my journal for my original thoughts only. So I do not copy and paste ideas I get from the AI into my own journal. I keep a separate file. I do this because when I'm later training my own AIs, I don't want it be feeding its own stuff into it, it's the snake eating its tail kind of stuff thing. And there's an idea around um, the best version of large language model trainings ended in 2022 because that's when they started going online and people could start using them and the crap started showing up online. So now training data is tainted by AI generated data that's already out there. So in the spirit of that, I try to keep whatever I want to use for training my own AIs pure, and I'm not going to just use like I forget what the word is, but just that you're making copies of copies, and these are not original thoughts anymore, and I want to keep my original thoughts pure. One of the unanticipated benefits I've had about working with AI is it removes the projection piece when we're talking with other people. So if you're having a conversation with someone and they say something that maybe you receive kind of critically or something like that, why are you getting prickly? Like what's generating that in you? Is it truly what they said, or are they touching a nerve from and for me it always goes back to the parents. So something that in my distant past, my relationship with my parents, um, what I have learned from my work with AI and doing deep work in myself is it removes that projection piece to the point where I can ask it to roast me. So basically, here's something I'm up to, roast this. I would never ask another human being to roast me because I'd be in mortal fear that they're going to say this is what they really think of me. Like I'm going to hear it that way, right? So um, when I use these tools, like with the AIs, that seems to be missing. Again, because I see it not as a magic box, it's a mathematical algorithm. So roast me, like roast my. I wrote this about me page, roast it, and because I'm curious what it's going to roast, and uh like something I got out of a roast once was like, oh, you're all you're doing is like big ideas, but there's no action in here. There's no action in here. You're just one of those people that's just dreaming, 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 and not taking action. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. I'll accept that. Okay, how can I work some action in, but it didn't hurt me to hear that, whereas it might hurt me if I was hearing it from someone like where I'm projecting like it's my father. Like I have my father's voice haunts me to this day of not being good enough, and what else you got and everything else. I'm not working hard enough and everything like so. I'm able to receive like true criticism without being like and getting all defensive. So that's one of the advantages of using AI for me. A best practice I have is, like or what I would suggest is have an AI buddy. So is there somebody in your life that you could sort of set some groundwork, some ground rules of, let's share what we're learning or seeing with these AIs, but we're not going to copy paste. I'm going to share with you my digested thoughts. And then your person's like, yeah. So I'm going to have a few buddies in my life that I get to do this with. And it's been really helpful because it gives me an outlet for this digestion. Um, and it actually takes a lot of will to not just copy and paste them wow moments like that's going to be really difficult, so to hold back on um, explain to them why, tell your AI friend, your human friend, what was behind a wow that the AI gave you today, and make that your practice. And that again, how to be more human in an AI world, you're deepening a relationship with another human being. So I had a wow, like, whatever. The AI reflected something in me that I didn't realize before, but here's why it's important and here's what I see, and not about copying and pasting what it actually said. Um, Make a declaration in ways you use AI and ways you will not use AI, and make it public. You can put it on your website. So, because this is good, like it's good just to define this for yourself. So, and it's going to let other people know how you're using it. Because again, for people like me, where I get suspicious of, is someone sending me some copy pasted AI slop, or is this the like I want you to define what you're actually sending me. So I'll give you an example. Here's ways I use AI. I use AI as a creative sparring partner to expand my thinking. I use it for grammar and editing suggestions on already written pieces. I use AI to create marketing copy that isn't in my voice. So that might be the back of a book blurb or promotional material, sales materials. I use AI in helping structure and organizing raw thoughts. I use AI as an analysis of patterns in my work. This is on my list, but I don't do that much. But I might use AI for calendar or logistics optimization. But again, that's like just, you know, getting automation, or what we call automation. Ways I do not use AI. I do not use AI for personal correspondence and direct messages. So that means everyone in this room and anyone I deal with, if you hear from me, you're getting like a direct message from me. I don't use AI for my core writing and articles. So everything on the Frolic 100 is me. I don't use AI to share my personal stories and experiences because again, I'd rather just tell my story in a clumsy, messy way because that's how I want to hear you tell your story. I don't use AI in any communication where raw human energy matters. So, something I've experimented some, well, many people here might have gotten like a video message from me or something like that. I like to send stuff like that because I want to communicate like a raw humanness. I don't use AI, yeah, to represent my actual voice and perspective. Um, I don't use AI for real-time human interactions. I don't use AI when building trust is crucial. So there's so many ways AI is used to manipulate, and create trust. And I'm guilty of that. I created an automated webinar system used by 60 million people that created trust in the attendee that there's somebody else on the other side. So I'm acknowledging my part in that world, and I've played in there, and I also know I don't want to be part of that myself. So and I don't use AI in anything that requires my unique lived experience. And what I mean there is I'm just kind of like um, well, I'm just being real, and telling my story. I'm very aware in this moment. I've been just going, which I enjoy, and at the same time, I'm going to open up for comments or questions right now because I'd like to see how any of this stuff's landing. I'm curious what has been landing, like what and what are your takeaways of things that I've shared? Because this is again, this is a talk that I've created from scratch. So like, and just of my best practices based on my background. So I'm genuinely curious right now. If anyone would like to come forward, just on, yeah, Kelly, hi.
Okay, I took like 5 pages of notes,
Yeah.
so I'll give you those later. Um,
You know what's cool? Okay. So, um, who's the um, who's the OpenAI CEO? Sam, I think, right? So, yeah. He is a pen and paper dude because he understands that's part of digestion. So we're laughing at it, and there is like transcribers running right now, but there's a digestion piece that you're actually going through right now by taking your own notes. So I want to celebrate that. And you're allowed to also run the recorder
yeah,
at the same
I
time.
think it's a
But
yes and. Yeah, it's a
it
yes and.
is,
In
yeah,
fact, I
yeah,
recently had the insight. I was always a note taker, and I've been having more trouble with uh, technology, ADHD type symptoms. And my daughter said, you should go back to note taking. I'm like, I love note taking. But so I'm happy to go back to it because the digestion versus regurgitation theme is very helpful. I've been feeling the overwhelm of how much I can ask and how much comes
yeah.
back. So I really like that idea. And my son is very deeply into AI. And you've just opened up this whole channel of how we can talk to each other. I could think there's about 6 conversations in here that I could
Well, that's awesome.
slowly take back to him. And
Okay, I want to.
that's enough for
That's
me. Other
making
people,
Yeah, well, so I just that's making me feel really good right now because the whole topic was how to be more human in an AI world, and you just gave me an example of this is going to give you an ability to be more human with your own kid. Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, that's awesome.
And
Thank
for
you.
him to be more human with me. That generation is more hidden behind the computer.
Thank you. That's big. That's yeah. Thanks, Kelly.
Mhm.
I, I would
David,
say
David.
I love the content creation part. Like I'm about to finish my second book, and one of the guys that's helping me actually was telling me, oh, how much content he creates with AI. And I'm like, it feels like a cheat code. So I love that you both stated clearly, here's where I will use
Yeah,
AI. I actually dialed in more on where I won't use AI. I think that's almost more important to share with people. I love that you put that in your newsletter that you're like, yeah, I wrote this. No one else did. So I
yeah.
think the AI use cases is even cooler. That's a great insight.
Uh, Thank you for that. Uh, thank you. Yeah. Yana, I have a question for you actually. You're on my mind. Actually, you've been on my mind, and I'm glad you're on the call today because you do a form of coaching that's I find really cool and unique because you take people to experience art. Like you go to galleries and
Mm.
museums and you ask them questions. This is my understanding of what it is you do,
Hmm.
but you use the art
Right.
to provoke, and then you again, and then so you start with the art, and then you bring it to the human, which is now this conversation that you and this other person is having. And I feel like you're doing a version of what I'm talking about.
Mm. Okay. Um, yes, maybe it's because it's so pure, the feeling, what in the moment when you see the artifact, there's nothing between it. It works very directly, so it pushes the emotions from my clients.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. So I'm going to say you have inspired me on this work. And it's just like
Okay.
how everything kind of ripples. Yeah. So just because I'm aware that you use something to provoke a feeling, and that's what I'm always after. I'm always after the feeling, right? So, um,
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks. It's a good comparison, but um, I really appreciated your thoughts because I often think about because I write books and
Yes.
other stuff. How can I use I in a way I'm fine with it, and so yeah, you helped me to figure out how to use it and not to use it.
Mm,
So
thank you.
yeah, and to to say the things I have to say in my own voice.
Mm, thank you, Yana.
Thanks for your talk.
So I had a third part of today's presentation that involved this custom AI that I've made that I call the Wow Machine. I don't have time to demo for it, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and there's going to have to be a follow-up or something. Um, um, so what I've done, and this is so now I'm going to tell you instead of I'm breaking my own rules. I'm going to tell you about something instead of showing it. However, I do feel there's going to be power in the telling. So as I've been exploring AI and how it can make me feel things at times, and how it can give me that depth, and how it can give me the pursuit of self-mastery that I'm after, and how can it help me connect with other human beings, it's like I have this huge resource, which is all of my writings, you know. So at this point, it's 350 blog articles. I've written multiple books, and then I have years and years of journaling from a place of doing deep work in myself. And I asked myself, can I create something fed by this, you know, like trained by this, you know, and it's about like, and it represents me and how I see the world. And then but also not just to blow smoke up my butt, but to you know, so keep me away from those funhouse mirrors, but challenge me, you know, and it's something that I've called the wow machine because it elicits those wow moments that I'm after. And then how I've been using it with people. Um, Charmaine, can I just get you on the caller? Because I did a live demo with you like a week ago.
Yep.
So we what made it made it wow you, and how did you see that it was different than other AIs because it came from like my um inputs?
Yeah, so let's see. Let me take us back here real quick. That was trying to think of what I brought in. Was this the one where you because you did a podcast for me around sort of me and what I'm about.
Yeah, not
But I
the
think
podcast, but the chat bot. I brought it to a Zoom we were having, and I typed in a challenge you were having.
yes, yes. Okay. So this one was about my challenge was connected to me overthinking and not being able to create things in the world because I kind of get in here and stay in here. Um but and the digestion of what came out of that was for me it was own your power, stand in your power, and really get out there and do it. Is are really some of the things that came out of this. Yeah, that came out of that.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, sorry, I have you on the spot here, and we're going to a week old memory. So, my memory on that day though was we played with my WoW machine very briefly, and as soon as it created a WoW in you, I shut it, I put it away, and I brought it back to us, and we continued the conversation. Is that a fair
That's correct.
recollection
Yep.
of? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, and again, there's something really exciting for me here. This is frontier territory. I'm very comfortable in this kind of space. You know, no one can teach me how to do this because it's never been done before, you know, and that's exciting to me. So, um, um, more to come on this. I wish I had more time, but the everyone in this room, you guys are already part of the like the Frolic 100. So you are my first place where I get to show these things. And um, um, but that was my memory as well, Charmaine, of that I closed it immediately and we got back into the digestion piece. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What I recall, Chris, also is that was it brought in, it was like this impactful moment. So it basically told me what I needed to hear, and then we closed it and then digested it together. So it was really cool.
Yeah. I'm out of time. I want to thank everyone for being part of this. This came from an idea of Chris, you belong in Davos or whatever. And I had to, like I said at the start, I had to overcome why I shouldn't be there and stuff. And and then here we are today, and I can tell there's something happening here, and I can tell this is the culmination of everything I've done. So all the work around impossible goals and everything else, it's feeding into this, and it's help. And where is this going to go? I don't know, and that's exciting to me too. Like that is exciting, and but I'm using, I guess today, what has helped me is I gave clarity to myself on this is my own roadmap of how I am using this stuff to help me as I go forward. And I hope, well, I enjoyed sharing it with y'all.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Chris.
Chris.
Just so you know, I would be open to a one-on-one digestion of this session.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah. All right. I'll wrap. You can unmute yourself, say your goodbyes, and but thank you, and more to come. More to come. This is the
so
start.
thought-provoking. Really, really wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, everyone. See you.
Thank you.
See ya.
See you next time. Bye.
Well done, Chris.
Thank you.